Hi, everyone, and welcome to Starting with IEP. My name is Flor Amelia, and this is episode number 16. It is about IEP transition one to one, what families need to know about DORS and life after 21. Now, I want to say that I started off thinking about transition IEPs when my daughter was 6. You may ask why? Why so early on? I guess it was because I knew that Aliyah's adulthood was going to be very different from others. So I really needed to think ahead for Aliyah. So I just wanted to make sure she can be as independent as possible, whatever her independence level can look like. Now, her independence level might be that she may need some assistance, but I just wanted to make sure that I prepared her ahead of time. So I was always thinking ahead. There was this special needs fair that I attended in Montgomery County. There are many special needs fairs. Sometimes it feels like Christmas because you get so many vendors, information. It gives me so much hope that there are other programs that my daughter can be a part of. Of course, I brought my daughter with me because our babysitter list is very small and I will only use them when it's absolutely necessary because I don't want to train them. Don't want to drain them at all. Can't exhaust them. So I did bring my daughter and they did see how she was. They were telling me the type of candidates that they receive. They're like, is this for her? And I'm like, yes, but I needed to know because in the blink of an eye, I'm blinking right now. And bam, she is 16 and she will be going towards these programs. I just need to know about these programs so I can be aware. I'm so glad that I did ask those questions because they told me not to worry. But then they described the type of candidate that they were looking for them because then they're picky, and I guess came out of my mouth because they do get to choose. They don't work with all individuals that have disabilities. They do not. They are very selective. And one of the things they told me is that she needs to follow one-step commands. She will not be allowed to have a one-to-one. And at that time, she did need a one-to-one. Politely, they were telling me that she most likely wouldn't be eligible for the program, which is why today we need to help her be as independent as possible because I'm just trying to make sure that she has access to these programs. And I think that opened up my eyes so much to know how many beautiful programs there were, but not all of them were going to be for Aliyah because of how much support she is needing. Sometimes when I recall things, I don't want to get too emotional here. So it's a tough pill to swallow. And I'm sure that for many parents that are listening, it's also hard for you guys to know that there's so many beautiful things out there, but not everything can be for our children. Early on, I knew that I had to focus on that. So one of the things at that age, I didn't know what transition IEP meant. So I went online and I looked for how early can the school help Aliyah get ready for her adulthood. That's when I learned about transition IEP. But can I ask you guys, do you guys know what transition IEP means? And if you don't, that's okay because maybe you guys are just starting off, right? But I want everyone to know earlier on because we need to get ready for our kids. So if your child is only 3, that's okay. You should know this because in case your child still needs an IEP, at least you would know. So I'm very thankful that I went to that fair because then I got to know early on what transition IEP, and then I knew how important it was for the school to help my daughter be more independent. So for those that are unsure of what a transition IEP means, it is part of your IEP. And that part of the IEP focuses on preparing your student for the life after high school. I think that's really important for us to figure out. I know that we're constantly thinking. I know for me, I constantly ask what would happen once I'm no longer here? What would happen after? We have to ask those type of questions. So the transition IEP is part of the IEP that focuses on preparing a student for the life after high school. What it includes are measurable post-secondary goals that focuses on education, training, employment, and independent living. So why it's so important, it's because it ensures that the school teaches the skill needed for adult life, not just academics. This was so important for me as a parent because a lot of the times they talk about, oh, it's not in the academic world. It's not in the academic world. And I'm like, let's focus on her transition IEP because we're preparing her for life. So this part, I want you guys to understand that it is needed for adult life. What's so great is that this connects the student to adult agencies, community experiences, and real world opportunities. One of the things that I also found out early on is because I wanted Aliyah to start her transition IEP as early as age 12 because I noticed that a lot of things takes her a while. So I wanted her to be successful. So I was like, I understand that other kids start at age 14, but I wanted Aliyah to start much earlier because washing her hands, that's a goal that took us a long time compared to other kids. It's been years and we're still working on how long it takes her to learn how to take a shower independently. So I knew it was going to take her longer, which is why I asked the school so early on at 12. And they were like, oh, she can't start at 14. When with 13, we're going to start talking about it. But one of the things that they said is that they don't have a transition IEP coordinator at that school, that we had to wait till Aliyah to get to high school because then they have one there that they can focus on. I do want to share that for those that are asking at what age does federal law, the IDEA, say transition planning must start, and how can the state choose to start earlier? The IDEA requires that the transition planning to begin no later than 16 years old. States can start earlier. Many begin at 14 because early planning improves the outcomes. What I like about this is that it allows the teams to build skills gradually instead of rushing into high school and not knowing what to prepare for once adulthood kicks in. What we think about with kids with early intervention, that's how I see this also. So starting earlier increases the opportunities for work experience, community practice, and agency involvement. This is so important, you guys, because getting into DORS does take a while. Now I'll talk about DORS here in a second. Sorry about that. I spoke too soon. But in Maryland, why do we start planning at age 14 instead of waiting until 16? What does that buy us? Maryland requires transition planning to start in the school year the student turns 14. So let's focus on that. So it's the school year. So not right when they're 14, but the school year that they turn 14. I think that's really important for families to understand. It gives the families 2 extra years of structured planning, skill building, and agency involvement. It allows more time for career exploration, vocational assessments, and pre-ETS services. I really do appreciate that Maryland does this, and I hope other states that start at 16. One of the things that you guys should focus on is doing a strong advocacy group so your state can start much earlier. Because what this helps prevent is the senior year scramble. So I know maybe we don't do the actual senior year because for some of our kids, the senior year can be 21. It just depends, right? It just depends on the individual. But we need much more time. So when talking about pre-ETS services, it does take some time to apply and be found eligible to receive those services. So the sooner that we do this, the better, because this helps us prevent the senior year scramble. Because then at that time, families realize too late that adult services take time to apply for. So one of the questions that we can ask is, what are the main areas a transition plan should cover? Well, one of the main plans definitely should be post-secondary education or training, such as looking into college, trade programs, certifications that they can look into. They can look into employment, like what type of career skills, work experience, job readiness do they need? We can also look into independent living. How will they be living independently? Their daily living skills that they need. Are they ready with money skills, self-care, decision-making skills? We also need to help them get into the community by helping them or reinforce the participation within the community, such as taking the transportation, social engagement, recreation, and definitely safety. How they're going to be taking, for example, metro, the bus, the train system, how to access them in a safe manner. Also, I want you guys to understand what happens when we don't start transition early enough. What I have seen is that students may leave the school with no job experience and limited adult life skills. And the parent is still working, right? The parent's life keeps on going on. Their child already graduated, but then their child, their senior, right? There's going to be a gap year and the parents don't know, where is my child going to go during this gap year, because a lot of the adult services programs, they start at 21 years. So what are we going to do in this gap year? A lot of parents need to understand this part. There's cushion in between that they can work on other things while the other programs kick in. One of the things that I really worry about is that families may face long waits for these adult services like VR or DDA to kick in. One of the things that I know that I have seen parents see is that their child is going to lose the structure after 18 or 21 years old. And what I sadly have seen is that their child is going to be leading more towards isolation and regression. And then that's when the families feel overwhelmed by trying to navigate services at the very last minute. And what I'm trying to help prevent is the students missing that work-based learning, the community instruction, and the agency collaboration. So I know I have said a lot, and then you guys are like, what is she talking about, DDA? What is she talking about, DORS? Who is DORS? What do they do in Maryland? How are they connected to the MSDE? Now, I may have said a lot right now, and you're like, what is she talking about? Because I just used a lot of acronyms. So DORS is the Division of Rehabilitation Services, and it is a part of the Maryland State Department of Education, MSDE. And it provides VR services, which is vocational rehabilitation services to help people with disabilities prepare for and obtain employment. And it partners with schools to deliver transition service to students with disabilities. Now, you guys are asking, who is eligible to work with DORS? Now, do you remember what I was telling you about that fair? They were describing a program that I really, really, now I'm not going to say it because then I don't want people to know that this program discouraged me from applying to DORS, because they told me that it's covered by DORS. It's an amazing program. Oh my goodness. I fell so in love with it. I was like, yes. But then when she was telling me about who their candidates are and how it's covered, and then they told me about when she turns a teenager, but she basically told me that Aliyah would be found ineligible because she requires a one-to-one. My daughter was high support needs. She really needed a one-to-one support to do a lot of the programs. I thought she wouldn't be eligible. So for the longest time, I thought she wouldn't. And then I was like, I remember asking myself, how can that happen? I was so confused. I understand that students with disabilities, they need jobs, but how can they turn away individuals that really do need that support? I was just calling doors and asking them questions. And I know she won't be found eligible, but can you tell me how independent does she need to be? I really wanted a strong definition about what is the criteria to be found eligible. And the person at that vendor taught myself a lesson. Don't listen to everyone. Always trust, but verify. That's something the military taught me. Always trust, but verify. So I do trust her, but I'm just going to verify her. So I did that. And I'm glad that I asked all those questions to doors, because they told me, no, Aliyah is actually, she is eligible. I was like, I will supply her one-to-one. I will be her one-to-one so she can have access to these programs. So they were like, yes, of course. She has all the documents. I sent her IEP in. I sent out the doctor's reports because that's what they wanted. Yeah, I couldn't believe. So I really wanted today's episode to talk about trust but verify, and also to check out these programs, because I gotta tell you, Aliyah is thriving. You guys, Aliyah's thriving. I'm not gonna get emotional. Oh my goodness. I'm such an emotional mom. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna show you pictures. I feel horrible. I feel, you know how you have a proud parent moment? I didn't have one of those. I'm disappointed in myself as Aliyah's mom, because I should have high expectations of my child, right? And I didn't. Aliyah, oh my goodness, this girl, Aliyah exceeded my expectations. She's doing right now an internship with DORS. I just wanted her to get used to going into the workplace, hanging some clothes. I was like, if she could, because I know with her fine motor skills, I know it's so difficult. And I know in the beginning she was getting so frustrated. Oh my goodness, she was getting so frustrated because of the fine motor, because she has to use these clips where she has to pinch and then put the pants in and then do the other one. If it just involved putting on the clothes on the hangers, because she works at a thrift store. She loves clothing. That's what I loved about the agency, is that they were asking me questions about what does Aliyah like to do. She loves gardening, even though I'm not great at it, but I know that she likes plants. I know that she loves stores. Oh my goodness, like she loves shopping. I was so disappointed in myself, because how could I, as Aliyah's mom, have low expectations? I want to say I'm pretty good at setting her expectations high, but this girl surpassed my expectations. We are in week 5, I believe, out of the 8-week internship. And Aliyah wants to be there more than 4 hours. Wow, more than 4 hours. She just wants to keep working. She just wants more bins. She just wants more work. She just wants to keep piling through. And I think she loves this. It's because it's predictable and it's repetitive. That's something that she's so good at. She's so good at with work that is predictable for her to know what she has to do, and that's repetitive. So she goes in there, she knows what to do. And sometimes her shift is over, but she knows she didn't finish the bin yet and she will keep on going. And then at the end, she always buys herself a lollipop. In the beginning, she was buying a lot of clothes, but I'm glad that she understands that we don't need all those clothes. She would buy clothes that are not her size, but I think she was trying to buy it for her younger sisters, but they were too big of a size for her younger sisters. But I have her help me pick out clothes. I was so impressed with my baby girl. I was so impressed. I just couldn't believe it. And she started showing improvement, I want to say on week 2. In the beginning of her first week, I saw her struggle, but I saw her progressing in the midweek of the first week. And I just couldn't believe it. And I want to say I was so proud of her, but I was disappointed in myself. I was so disappointed in myself because how could I have low expectations when she surpassed it? So that was my aha moment. I just really wanted to share this with you guys. So, for those that are asking, how can I get into DORS? How can my child be eligible? So, I'm going to share the flyer with you. It should be on your screen. Who is eligible to work with DORS? So, it's students with documented disabilities that are in the ages of 14 to 21, and they can have access to the Pre-ETS services. I'll also share the link. But what are pre-employment transition services, Pre-ETS? Some of the examples are job exploration counseling, workplace readiness training, where they help you with soft skills, communication, and behavior, work-based learning experience, where it's job shadowing, internship, and volunteer work, counseling on post-secondary programs, and self-advocacy instruction. So you can definitely contact your DORS coordinator and ask for them to give you more information on how to get started on any of those programs. DORS also have programs for older students and adult that may qualify for the full VR services based on functional limitations related to employment. So my daughter was already actually found eligible for VR. We're just going to wait until it kicks in when she turns into an adult. And also, one of the things that they made it clear is that eligibility is based on how the disability impacts the ability to work, not on the academic level. That was so important for me to hear from them because, again, I thought that she really needed to have way more capabilities. And they were like, no, it's nothing based on academic. It's just how the disability impacts Aliyah's ability to work. That was really important for me to hear from them. Now, you may be asking yourself, how does the DORS support programs beyond school? One of the things that they do is that they provide job coaching and supported employment after high school. It helps fund training programs, certifications, and vocational schools. It may assist with assistive technology needed for employment. So please really look into that because assistive technology can take your child a long way there. It offers helps to resume building, job application, and interview preparation. It supports students with transition youth programs in partnerships with DDA. Now, I know I just said DDA, and so some of you are like, what is she now talking about? Now, the question becomes, how does DORS coordinate with other Maryland agencies like DDA? DDA is Developmental Disabilities Administration. You can be found eligible way before 21. When we applied with DORS, she was already found eligible for VR. We're just waiting for those services to kick in when she turns 21. All of these applications we already did early on. So we're avoiding this whole scrambling for services when she's a senior. We're totally avoiding that. DORS is helping us coordinate with other Maryland programs like DDA because it's going to help us understand when to apply for the transition youth services. They're going to be sharing the information, of course, with our consent to support a smooth transition, a handoff transition to DDA. When Aliyah turns 21, they're going to be sharing that information. They're going to be working really closely to DDA to plan an employment pathway options for the eligible youth. They're also going to ensure that the students have a coordinated adult service plan before exiting school, which is huge because, again, we don't want our child to feel like they're isolated or regress. It's so nice to have an adult plan, to have a plan ready as soon as they exit school. We don't want to do this. We don't want to apply for services. There be a huge long gap year or longer and then have services again. It's really nice to just have something already planned. But if you're not in Maryland, what's the DORS equivalent in your state? So if you're not in Maryland and you're wondering what is the DORS equivalent in your state, every state has a vocational rehabilitation agency, but the names may differ. For example, Department of Rehabilitation, Vocational Rehabilitation Services, Office of Vocational Rehab. The roles are the same, such as like the employment, training, assistive technology, employer partnership support. The question may be like, where can families look up their state's VR agency? Well, you guys can check out RSA, Rehabilitation Services Administration State Directory, or JAN, Job Accommodation Network, where it also lists resources. Also, you can check out EARN, Employer Assistance and Resource Network for the Disability Employment Services. You can also try searching your state. You put your state's name and then you put Vocational Rehabilitation Agency. So, how are you guys doing? I know I gave off so much information early on. I am so sorry that I have stressed anyone out. All I know is the earlier that you learn about stuff, the better that you'll feel, the less anxious. Maybe I give you a little bit of anxiety right now, but I promise you'll feel much more prepared because you don't want your child to be in their last year of school and then you guys not know about this, which I'm telling you, I have heard so many stories, so many families reach out that their child has a gap year. They don't know what to do. They're isolation, and then we start really focusing on their mental health because they go from a structured place to a non-structured place and both parents are working, or single parent home, and it's even much more harder because you can't tag team with the dad or the mom. Okay, you're checking in. Are they getting fed? Can they make their own meals? There's just so much going on there. So I really felt that I needed to share that. I do still have a lot more to talk about, but I felt like I overwhelmed you guys. Don't want to overwhelm you too much. Next week, what we're going to be talking about is how DORS and VR should show up in the transition IEP. We're also going to be talking about the advocacy questions that the parents can ask during these meetings. So I hope to catch you next week. And if you haven't done so already, please like this episode, subscribe, share this episode, post a comment, let us know what you're thinking and what would you like to hear more of. And also, if you want me to interview you so we can learn from your experience and share your story, I think that will be really impactful for our community. Also, another call for action is to look up your state's vocational rehabilitation agency and save its number and website when you guys are ready to make that phone call. I want you guys to visit the DORS website and complete their online referral form. Did you guys know that you can refer yourself? You don't have to have a professional do it. You yourself can refer. Yourself as a parent can refer your own child. That's exactly what I did. You can definitely contact your local DORS office and meet a counselor there and ask them more about their programs and how they can help your child. I want you to ask your IEP team to invite the DORS to a future meeting if you already have a DORS counselor. And one of the questions that you can email your IEP case manager today is, can we schedule time to review and update my child's transition goals and discuss connecting with VR, vocational rehabilitation? That's something that they're going to be like, oh, because now your child is going to be in their radar, knowing that they need to be working on transition IEP. It goes a long way, I promise you. So starting with IEP, we'll continue to talk about breaking down DDA, Medicaid waivers, and transition pathways. I think this is really important for us families to understand. Adulthood is much longer than their school years. So we really do need to start planning for that because that's much more longer. Please don't forget to subscribe and let me know if you have any questions so I can answer them. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.